minus 10 minutes. Minus 9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. Minus 7 minutes. T-minus 5 minutes. T-minus for minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Yes, how about that? Welcome to the RP Show, everybody. It is a Wednesday, a hump day, the middle of the week. Very important show because it's our next show coming at you live on the Game Plus Television Network and streaming in podcast form as well. RP here, no Moose. Moose not here. He's at the Canada Games in Newfoundland. I spoke to him this morning. He says, hey to everybody. Les Lazaruk joining us, the voice of the Saskatoon Berries and Saskatoon Blades for 40 minutes here in Hour 1. Coming up in Hour 2, Darrin Bauming, another Darrin, will join us from Bonfire Sports Winnipeg. Hey, Lester, welcome to the off-season,
Rod.
my guy. Good morning.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Turn the page, go on. Hockey's 2.5 weeks away, and I still am. I'm here in the newsroom at CJWW getting ready to do some sports and do some news a little later on.
Okay, well, the grind never stops. And, folks, we're going to get to that, but let's go. There's your quick six show horn. And the big story, we're starting with baseball, but it's the Major League variety. Get ready, Les. Ernie Clement hit a 3-run homer in the third inning to give the Blue Jays a 4-0 lead, and Toronto held on to beat the visiting Chicago Cubs 5-1 at Rogers Center on Tuesday to open a 3-game set. Les didn't see it because you were calling the WCBL Eastern Final, but hang on. Blue Jays president Mark Shapiro spoke to the media earlier in the day. He declined to comment on contract extension talks, but said he wants to remain with the club, and the team ownership has been, quote, reciprocal in that desire. Shapiro joined the club in 2015, signed a 5-year extension back in 2021. So you didn't see the game last night, Les. I did. Trust me, it was very exciting. Rogers Center was crammed. It's all deadly. What I want to ask you, should they be signing Shapiro at all to an extension here before the season is out?
Going into the season, I'd have said no, and I'm still inclined to lean that way. Just because the Jays are doing what they're doing this year doesn't absolve Mark Shapiro and his buddy, GM Ross Atkins, from not being able to sign big-name free agents. They are so fortunate that the young kids that I brought up yesterday that have come through for them this season, the Bargers, the Lucases, Ernie Clement, missed the bunt sign, apparently, and hit the 3-run homer on the missed bunt sign. But hey, when you're going good, you're going good. And that's basically the same thing for Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins. Things are going good, so they think that, yeah, we should be back. We've done a wonderful job. Not so fast, bucko. I don't really think so. You've been trying to sign who? You've been trying to sign everybody that's been a big-name free agent over the last few years. Shohei Ohtani, you struck out. Juan Soto, you struck out.
Yeah.
They've struck out how many times with big-name free agents? Is it because they don't want to come to Toronto? Is it because, well, they've heard about Shapiro and Atkins and they don't think they're all that terribly good? I think it's the latter myself. I'm just not convinced that those two guys should be the guys behind the Toronto Blue Jays. Bring somebody in, somebody else. Bring back Alex Anthopoulos, as far as I'm concerned, but somebody has to be better than those two guys.
Well, here's why I will say this. You and I have been around the sports game for a long time, and all I will say is, why do you need to do it now? It's good, I guess, that they've opened up conversations, and Shapiro doesn't want to talk about it. Again, he said the club is reciprocal in that desire. He wants to be back. He says the Blue Jays want him back, but again, he hasn't won anything. Like, I look at the Florida Panthers, okay? It's been a wonderful glimpse into how a winning organization operates. Bill Zito locks up people long-term ahead of time. Himself, Paul Maurice, and that core. Kachuk, Barkov, Verhege, the crew, Reinhardt, right? He's got them all locked, but they won. Can we not just wait to see how this all turns out? Why would we be doing it now? I think I'm not against it. And the thing is, we get messages here. The Blue Jays are watching our show, and I get kind of a kick out of it. I didn't like Shapiro and Atkins going into this year for stupid reasons. I've never met them. Maybe they're great guys. But the Toronto media doesn't really seem to like them at all. And they still haven't won anything. So there's two strikes. But so go ahead. You see where I'm going with that.
Oh, I see where you're going with it. Here's the one other thing that comes up with these two guys that has to absolutely happen before I absolve them. They have to sign Bo Bichette to a long-term deal similar to what they signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for. They signed Vladdy after much hullabaloo in the offseason. It almost seemed like it wasn't going to happen. And all of a sudden, boom, they signed him. I'd like to see a boom, they've signed Will Bichette. I'd like to have seen that happen before the trade deadline happened. And that way you take away the idea that you're losing your all-star shortstop. I know he wasn't an all-star this year. The way he's playing this year, he's an all-star. He's a big key in the cog for that Toronto Blue Jays team. And without him moving forward at 27, 28 years old, I fear what's going to happen to this franchise down the line.
Well, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but he did get Vladdy signed, and we didn't think he was going to get Vladdy signed. And if it wasn't Wednesday, because every Wednesday is our Canada's Game of the Week CFL poll, my poll question would be, should Shapiro be signed to an extension now? And the vote for me is no, and I got a pretty good, clear sense that you would be voting no.
Absolutely no.
Okay. Now, we're going to finish out this opening segment with baseball. Last night, Les called Game 3 the best of 3. Western Canadian Baseball League Eastern Final. You fell 6-2. Your Saskatoon Berries to the Regina Red Sox. Regina surprisingly going on to the league final. Even they're surprised, I think, against the Sylvan Lake Gulls. Can you give me the mood, what it was like last night and how everybody's doing today?
Very sad. Today, it's hard to know. I mean, last night was kind of like garbage bag day and end of season rolled into one. We chatted with everybody, all the main characters. Head coach Joe Carnahan, Ethan Menard, the mayor of Saskatoon, Carter Beck, the Carnduff kid, Balin Sorensen, great guy from Louisiana, like Menard. All very sad for two guys, Sorensen and Menard. Their time in baseball, at least at the senior collegiate level, coming to an end with that loss last night. So sad for them, but again, a lot to build on and a lot to be proud of in the fact that in 2 years, this team has gone to the East Division Final twice and have been very, very competitive and have become a really big success story in the WCBL.
Well, it's in my commentary today. Fall is for football. We're not at fall yet. We're in summer. Nope. And the baseball, the Blue Jays are the best team in the American League. And Les and I are broadcasters in the Western Canadian Baseball League. So baseball's huge for us right now. When we come back, we're going to get into CFL. We got a lot of NFL topics to get to. And it's my last day with Les this week. We'll get into whatever hockey talk you may have. As a matter of fact, I have it written in my notes. What is the outlook for your Saskatoon Blades? We're going to get to that. Sure. That's all coming up. Just some, hey, Weston Walls is still here. Just walk by. I thought he'd be out of town. He just, hey, going to walk by just like that? I love that guy. A 6'5" righty. You want to talk about down. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. I thought when he came in the ninth, you guys were done.
I thought so too.
Funny thing about sports, it doesn't go the way we expect. That's why we love it. Okay, 902-518-3033. We will be right back. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network and streaming.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
RP Show continues on this Wednesday, and Hour 1 is brought to you by Pump Jacks Cathedral and Pump Jacks Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. We got a big NFL event planned for there that we're not ready to disclose yet, but that is coming up. Les Lazaruk joining us, the voice of the Blades and the Berries. And speaking of NFL, I'm going to start there, Les, before I come back around on the Canadian Football League. Couple news items from this Wednesday morning. Bills running back James Cook ended a contract standoff by agreeing to a 4-year, $48 million deal today. The deal includes $30 million in guaranteed money. James Cook ending his holdout with the Bills. And Aaron Rodgers is still feeling things out in Pittsburgh, literally, in more ways than one. The NFL's oldest player, who's in his first training camp with the Steelers, is still searching for the right helmet, Les. The league banned the helmet Aaron Rodgers has long preferred because it doesn't meet certain safety standards. He's not exactly enthralled with the replacement he's been using. Listen, I think he probably is a diva and all that, but I get where he's coming from. You played sports. I did too. If your headwear isn't right in the most difficult position in sports to play, I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah. Equipment, period. Doesn't matter whether it's to protect the head or any part of the body. If you don't feel confident in the equipment that you are provided with or you have for yourself, then you're going to be worrying more about that and you're distracted. And as a result, you don't perform to the best of your ability. So if Aaron Rodgers needs a particular helmet to fit that melon of his in order to make him be the best that he can be, I hope he's able to get it. Just for his sake and for the sake of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who desperately need him to have a good year after the debacle they went through last year with Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah. If I was the Rooney family, I would be doing whatever it takes to get him whatever he wants to feel comfortable. This is, for the kids, I'll tell you how old I am. I pretty much stopped playing goal right when the fiberglass masks came out. I had the old Chris Osgood SK2000 and the Spider-Man. I loved it. It was so comfortable. But those fiberglass masks came out, Les. They're so heavy, and they're still so heavy. I'm like, I couldn't play. I couldn't see. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I totally understand where Aaron Rodgers is coming. It was a good time for me to retire. A lack of talent certainly helped with that decision in my life. And another NFL note, NFL Network preseason Week 2 schedule features 7 live games, including a doubleheader and a quadruple header, as well as re-airs of every game. NFL Network's live schedule of preseason Week 2 kicks off Friday night with a doubleheader beginning with the Titans visiting the Falcons at 7 Eastern. Then at 10 p.m. Eastern, it's the Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks. I have some notes on that, but is there anything in the NFL that's catching your eye right now, or were you too buried in baseball this summer? You haven't been paying attention the last couple of weeks?
No, I've been paying attention. Shedeur Sanders comes to mind right away. Of course, dropped from supposedly a top 5 pick in the draft all the way down to 144th. And of course, that's a very polarizing situation there as to why that happened, and the fact that maybe Shedeur is too much like his old man, old Primetime in the mouth that they both seem to possess, that gets them into trouble and irks a lot of people in the establishment, so to speak. But Shedeur Sanders is a talent, and he should not have dropped that far in the draft, as far as I'm concerned. I know there's people who are saying that he should be the guy getting the starting reps for the Browns this week after having a pretty good debut in exhibition play. Let's cool the jets just a little bit here. The Cleveland Browns have got a long ways to go, and maybe Shedeur Sanders might be the answer at quarterback eventually. But I think you got to give the people ahead of him on the depth chart, most notably Joe Flacco, the ageless Joe Flacco, the opportunity to prove that he can't do the job first before you start anointing Shedeur Sanders as the starting quarterback with the Cleveland Browns.
You know, it's funny you say that because Chris Carter, Darrin's dad, my gym buddy from Boca Raton, Florida, was the one saying that this draft fall cost Shedeur $30 to $50 million going from the top 3, top 5 potentially to the 5th round. And I'm sitting here going, Chris, he can get it back. He can get it back for all the reasons that you said that he slipped. The Sanders bravado, his own mouth, his dad's mouth, whatever it is, go out and play. That's never changed. Go on to the field of battle and earn it yourself, right? I didn't like when Chris Carter said that.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you. I think that's, I mean, so much of it today, though, is about the money that you can get and draft positioning being what it is and what you can potentially earn. But ultimately, you have to be able to do it. And just take a look at the guys in the past who have had the opportunities and failed miserably trying to be and live up to that high draft ranking and getting the money that they got and then just fall flat in their faces. There's numerous examples of that in every sport, not just the National Football League.
Les Lazaruk with us, the voice of the Saskatoon Blades and Berries, filling in, co-hosting, and I appreciate you, Les, for doing that. For the Moose. The Moose is at the Canada Games, the Jouk Canada Games. You spoke to him this morning. He's having the time of his life out there in St. John's, Newfoundland. He drank Screech the other day. Have you ever done that? He got a certificate. I have not. You been to St. John's?
No, neither have I. I've never done it. That's the one province in Canada that I have not visited. My wife and I were in the Maritimes back in May, loved it. The only place we didn't get to was Newfoundland. The next trip eventually is going to be Newfoundland. I mean, we're talking next summer, maybe going to Montreal. So look out, old Montreal. But because that's a great place. I've been there a few times. But to get to Newfoundland, that's eventually a bucket list trip for the two of us to get to.
Well, Moose is having the time of his life. And I have some other notes that I'll come back to with Les regarding NFL and actually college football. But I want to move along to the CFL because it is summer. And that's why a lot of people have come here today. Canada's Game of the Week poll. We do it every Wednesday. What's Canada's Game of the Week? I don't even know why they're playing the other games. Because over 85% of people have voted for Hamilton and Saskatchewan on Saturday, that first place showdown. But I'll run through them again. Thursday, it's Ottawa at Winnipeg. Bombers announcing their 10th straight sellout for this game Thursday night. Way to go, Bombers. Friday, Toronto at Edmonton, and a Saturday doubleheader, Hamilton at Sask and Montreal at BC. So now with baseball over for you, I'm guessing you'll have a lot more attention on the CFL. Am I right?
Absolutely. I mean, the weekly picks I make on my daily commentary, they'll be coming up tomorrow for this week. I just hope that the games this week come somewhat close to rivaling the excitement that we had in the CFL last week. Those were 4 outstanding games, maybe the best week of games we've seen in a long, long time. Every game was less than one score. We had 2 walk-offs. They were just phenomenal theater, phenomenal drama for football in all 4 of those CFL games. And the league's got a long ways to go to get back to that this week. But I think certainly the Hamilton-Saskatchewan game has the potential to do that. And again, easily, as your reader, as your viewers are saying, is the game of the week without a doubt. So I'm looking forward to that game Saturday afternoon.
You know, it's funny you say that. I have not talked to you about Luke Wilson at all, which is odd because I've talked to everybody else in the media about him. And I talked to some CFL media, big shots, as Seafood Sam used to say, big shots. Talked to them this morning about Luke Wilson. Yep. And I said, well, did you notice, Luke, or Les, he's gone Twitter silent. He says he will not be tweeting about the CFL. So I called some guys and said, who do you think is behind this or why? And nobody really seems to know. But coming out of the best week, Daryl Slade's watching in Calgary, Stampeders historian. He looked it up. He said there's never been a week in CFL football ever that the margin of victory combined was 9 points. This low. Like the closest games, they all came down to the last second. And Luke Wilson was on Twitter saying how crappy Friday's game was that he called or was on the broadcast for Montreal at Edmonton. I'm like, I don't care who you are. You can't denigrate the product. And now Luke has gone Twitter silent. So what do you think about this guy? And who do you think's behind silencing him?
Okay, as far as who's behind silencing him, I think it's a combination of the CFL and TSN, who are his employers for that situation. I think, TSN was kind of liking the idea that he was being truthful and trying to be and create some chatter, trying to create some talk about what is up and what's good and what's not so good about the CFL. He's maybe taken it just a little bit too far in the minds of the CFL. They put up with it because TSN was saying, look, don't worry about it. He's going to be great. He's going to be wonderful. And I think he has been for the most part. He's certainly created some interesting conversation and made some thought-provoking comments with regards to what the game is like and how some of us old dinosaurs have to maybe rechange our thinking towards how the CFL is played, how it's marketed, how you're getting out to the younger demographics, et cetera, et cetera. However, having said that, to just continually bash all the time gets a little old. Find something positive to say and then maybe end up with, having the CFL come to your side and not have to go to TSN and say, can you mute this guy for a little while just so that we can maybe, have something good happen for our league? I'm pretty sure it's a combination of those two entities doing that.
And he pointed out...
sorry.
He pointed out the millions of impressions that his tweets have created for the CFL. And I'm like, hey, I agree. I want to make this very, very clear, especially for Luke if he's watching. I got a lot of time for him because, Les, I look at you, I look at Mark Steven, guys that have been in the leagues that I've broadcasted in. I, at his age, was a raging lunatic. And you guys all put up with me. But I paid the price. Now, having said that, it's not like you didn't get your ass in the grass either, Les. I know that.
Oh, God, no.
Right?
You do know that.
I do. So it's not just me. Mark Steven has not, but you have.
No.
And for that reason.
Pure.
Yeah, but for that reason, I give Luke a lot of leeway because I've been there.
Sure. Yeah.
Have you thought about it that way?
Oh, absolutely I have. That's why I like what he has done. And I think that eventually he should be brought back. He may feel a little, okay, maybe I've gone too far. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just say, you know what, the heck with you guys. I think I'm right, and I'm going to continue to forge on. If he does, well, then fine. I mean, that's up to him. It'll end up being a matter for himself and his employers and the league to hash out. But for now, being silenced a little bit, going, ex-silent, so to speak, maybe a good thing, but I hope it's not for too terribly long because I find him to be refreshing, and I think he brings a different viewpoint to what the game is all about.
He's so talented, man. Like his sideline reports from Friday night. Well, I can't wait for him to come on the screen and see what he has to say. So I want to make it very clear. I love him. I think he's incredibly talented, but you're going to take some shots in the grapes here, and they don't feel very good. They don't feel good at all. And it's embarrassing when you do. But how about yours, Les? Raider fans come to mind for me that you kind of got into it with, but who are some of the fights you had with?
Well, Raider fans, that's pretty much it. I heard the odd Pack fan from a couple of years ago with Connor Bedard. I made the comment at the end of the series, and it was more of a shot at TSN and Sportsnet than it was at the Pats and Connor Bedard. But I said, hey, now what are you going to do, national networks, now that you don't have Connor Bedard to fawn over because he's out of the playoffs? The thing is that right as soon as he was knocked out of the playoffs, him and the Pats, it basically was no WHL coverage on the national networks because he was it. He was what was driving the WHL on those networks during the playoffs, the most important time of the year, and all of a sudden it went none because Saskatoon eliminated Regina. It happened as I expected it would, but people in Regina were upset. Oh, well.
I wasn't upset, but I think that's because you would never say anything that would upset me. The kid took you to Game 7, Les. The Pats had no business even making the playoffs, let alone, you must have been pretty nervous that morning at Game 7, I bet.
Every series that we've done in the last few years involving the Blades has been tremendous theater, very exciting, drama-filled. Regina, down 2-0, down 3-1, come back and win. Down 3-0 to Red Deer, come back, win in 7. Play Moose Jaw, 7 games, 6 of them go to overtime. I mean, are you serious? I'm surprised I'm still alive. My heart should have given out at any point in time during any one of those 3 series, really.
Len Ferguson writes in regarding Luke Wilson. He says, I heard he trashed Regina the last home game he played her. Oh, yeah, big time. To the degree that the mayor had to come out and talk about that. Okay, here come the questions. Rich in Edmonton, are they still planning on spending $1 billion plus on a new Blades arena? That is a boatload of money, even for an NHL venue. Don't answer that, Les. We got questions for you, and there's some things I would like to bring up with you when we come back, everybody. 902-518-3033 is the Western Dodge text line. We got a sports update coming up, too. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television and streaming.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
RP Show continues. The Western Dodge text line's open. Drive with confidence. Shop Western Dodge in Moose Jaw. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. 902-518-3033 gets your message to us right here in the studio. Tomorrow we'll be live from Calgary's Golf Fanatics and the 4th annual Theron Fleury's Breaking Free Foundation Golf Classic, broadcasting live from Golf Fanatics. Kevin the Media will be with us, along with Flames alum Colin Patterson and Theo Fleury. That'll be fun. Les Lazaruk with us, the voice of the Blades and the Berries. Baseball's big, folks. We talk football later on in the week, as you all know. John writes in on the Blue Jays. John in Rosetown says, Shapiro and Atkins were well known for not making huge splashes long before the Jays ever signed them. In the meantime, first in the AL is not too bad. And Rob in Regina writes in, he says, hey, Rod, were you surprised at all in the quality of ball in the Western Canadian Baseball League? Great baseball, great kids. No, I wasn't surprised because I've been watching for years, since the WNBL days with the Red Sox. But Les is the voice of the Berries. I'm the voice of the Moose Jaw Millers. And Jim Barker came out to a game last week, and he was like, and he coached baseball collegiately, Pomona College in California, and he couldn't believe it. Thomas Soto was the one guy that was popping Jim's eyes out at shortstop for us, Les. And he's like, there's plays that you only see at the major league level being made out here. I'm like, I know. You're not telling me anything I don't know. It was probably an easy yes for you when they asked you to be the voice of the Berries.
Yes, it was a very easy yes. And actually, they didn't even ask. I kind of made sure that I was going to be involved. So I approached the team and said, if we're going to be doing any kind of broadcasting of this, I want to be involved. And they said, sure. So it was nice to have that recognition that the team wanted me to be involved, and I was definitely anxious to be involved, and I'm not disappointed. It's just been a heck of a ride for 2 years, and this year was even a lot more fun. If you see my post on Facebook, actually, if you see my wife's post on Facebook, she involved with me this year. Just had a blast, and I'm so thrilled that the two of us were able to share and have a lot of fun together at the ballpark throughout this season.
I encourage all the comments from everybody. The ones that are assigned to just me, I will answer the 2 segments after this once Les adjourns. Some had asked you about the new arena in Saskatoon. There's been talk of this for some time now. As a matter of fact, your politicians have asked me to promote it. And I'm like, well, is it going to happen? I'm like, well, we need to get it out there. What's the latest?
Well, it's been quiet, basically, for quite a while. I think you have to go back in the spring, maybe, for the last time there was any chat about it. And it's basically everything's been tabled. There's plans. There's talk of where it's going to be. It's going to be downtown Entertainment Events Center. But right now, everything is kind of stalled because where's all the money going to come from? And the ideas and the plans that are in place for that to happen still haven't all been approved. And there's groups that have been charged with coming in and helping out with that have either mysteriously disappeared or are very much quiet in the background. And maybe one of these days they're going to come bursting out and say, hey, we've got everything in place, we're ready to go, and we're ready to start putting a shovel in the ground and get this project started. I know there is the rapid transit system's already started to be put together here in town, but I think that's something that doesn't just affect the downtown entertainment and events center. It's something that is there for everybody to be able to use down the future. That's something that the city needs pretty much, period. So the arena, I don't think the talk is dead, but it is certainly very quiet in the last several months.
There you go, rest of Canada and the 32 U.S. states where we air. There's the NHL caliber arena talk for Saskatoon. As Les just said, from Saskatoon, it's quiet. Okay, completely off the board with a note that I had written that I want to talk to you about. Because I was reading a thing about top 10 questions for college football this year, and one was, it's completely off my radar. I wonder where it is for you. How will Bill Belichick do at North Carolina? And CFL fans will be interested because Chris Jones is on his staff at North Carolina, the University of North Carolina. It's the alum or the alma mater of Darrin Durant. I'm giving you some time to think about this because I don't know that you're the biggest college football guy, but everybody wants to know how Belichick's going to do in college. What do you think?
Yeah, I used to follow college football a lot when I was a lot younger. Loved the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I mean, back in the day when all you got was one game on a Saturday, and then
Yeah.
You ended up watching Notre Dame highlights, Notre Dame Rewind or whatever it was called, with Lindsey Nelson and Paul Hornung on a Sunday morning. That's how old I am. That's how far back I go. We're talking more than 50 years ago with cable television in its infancy. So back then, I was a big-time college football fan, a big fan of the Irish. As far as how Bill Belichick's going to do, yeah, I'm really curious about it as well, especially with his girlfriend supposedly helping him out this year. But I think that's been way overblown. I really think, though, that between him and Chris Jones, two longtime good football people, do they translate well from the pros to the collegiate level, and especially the collegiate level now, where these kids, a lot of them, are making NIL money and can look at this guy and go, hey, you're old enough to be my grandfather, maybe even my great-grandfather. Why am I listening to you? I've got a path. I've got an agent. I've got people behind me in my camp. Some of these kids have got camps. They've got people, large entourages. They're going to say, you know what, Bill? Forget it. I'm not listening to you. I'm tuning you out. I'm afraid for Bill Belichick and Chris Jones that they will be tuned out by some of the college kids.
I can't believe the comments that come in when we talk NFL and also college. Carlos in Indianapolis writes that he says, Belichick will do decent, not championship contenders, but certainly good for a building year. BW from Edmonton, who's trucking in North Dakota right now, says North Carolina will win 4 games, no bowl games. Well, again, I did not mean to catch less, and you answered it very well. I didn't want to catch you off guard. I didn't know. Like, I'm reading it today, and it said, top 10 questions. And this was one. It was like the number 5 question. How will Belichick do? But North Carolina hasn't been very good for a long time. They haven't had double-digit wins since 2015. And when the Tar Heels hired him in January, I asked Darrin, how do you think he's going to do? And Darrin said, well, I hope he does great. I think he'll do great. He's been very active in the transfer portal, so he signed a lot of talent. As far, though, less as the relating to young players, I thought that when John Paddock took over the Regina Pats in 2015, 2016. He was 62 years old. I'm like, what are you going to talk to these kids about? Lo and behold, 2 years later, and they're in the league final. I think that age thing is overblown. Don't you?
Maybe. Yeah, you may very well be right. I think there are still some instances. I mean, I take a look at Mike Babcock, and we brought this up yesterday briefly, but I think Mike Babcock's situation in Toronto and eventually in Columbus this past off season going into last season brought up the idea that it was difficult. But then I take a look at a guy like Bill Peters, who had 2 very good seasons with the Lethbridge Hurricanes and seemed to relate very well with his players, despite some of the problems he's had in the professional ranks prior to him joining the Lethbridge Hurricanes. I thought it was a questionable move on Peter Anholt's part at the time. I love Bill. I love Peter. They're both good people and good friends of mine. But boy, it ended up working really well for that organization in the end. So maybe it'll work out well. Maybe it'll work out well for North Carolina.
Belichick wins, period. I think it'll work out fine. But again, they're not even in the top 25. They're not even close. How much better can they be? They're not going to be that much better. John in Rosthern writes in all caps, Rod, you are talking to a legend, the best junior announcer in the league. Go Blades. That's from John in Rosthern. Les, I don't think you liked it when I said you're the Elton John of junior hockey. And what I mean by that, every game to Les is the biggest. I remember driving through Saskatoon. It was January 17th, a Wednesday night, and you treated it like it was the Stanley Cup. It reminded me of Elton John singing Crocodile Rock, standing on the bench after the ta-da! I'm like, you sang that song 7 million times. You just sang it like it was your first time. Les, you really love what you do, don't you?
I really do. It's been a privilege to be able to do sports broadcasting and sports media for 46 years. I started as a newspaper writing intern in 1979 in Winnipeg. When the Winnipeg Tribune folded on August 25th of 1980, I had to pivot, go to something different. I ended up in radio, and it's been a match made in heaven ever since. So I'm very, very fortunate. I've been very fortunate to be picked up off the scrap heap after time in Winnipeg and brought to Saskatoon, and have had 31 years, 31 seasons going into season 32. So I don't take anything for granted. Every game has to be played like it's a game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, and I try to make it that way, and I try to bring that home to people, and I hope it works. I just hope people appreciate it.
You know they do, and I can't wait to be in attendance at the Western Canada Pro Hockey Scouting Foundation banquet when you receive the Bob Ridley Golden Microphone Award. I would think it'll be happening in just the next couple of years. I was just there last week when Dean Scooter Vrooman got it out of Portland.
He deserves
hey,
it.
ho,
Absolutely.
hey. All right, Les, you're the best, buddy. Thanks for pinch hitting.
Thanks,
I may
pal.
be calling you next week, so stick near your
That's
phone.
fine. Bring it on.
We'll be right back, everybody.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. We're live from Golden Ticket Sports Center. And just diving into the comments, as I said, I love everybody that's come to talk here today, but was not going to get into as many of the comments as long as I had Les here sitting with me, my brother from another mother, which, by the way, when I said he treats every junior game like it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, I mean, I get it. I remember calling the USA Football National Flag Championships in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the head of USA Football, Scott Hallenbeck, the president of USA Football, was standing over my shoulder. He's like, it was like U12 division flag football girls on the Olympic Network, by the way, and also streaming from Home Team and USA Football's website. And he goes, "You're treating this Like the Super Bowl. Yeah. I just like change, obviously. I get the mentality. 32 years in the dub. Whew. Brent from Wellington, Florida writes in. He says, August needs to hurry up and be over. College and NFL. Well, patience, grasshopper, 1. 2, I live my life like this. I celebrate what is instead of pining over what isn't. So I'm enjoying the baseball right now immensely. But if you just can't get enough, Brent, go on your Netflix today or tonight and watch the new series on Netflix, Any Given Sunday, SEC Football. Oh. I was with Brent and John from Mississippi and Corey from New Orleans the day, it was your birthday, Brent, the day that Vanderbilt upset Alabama for the first time in 40 years. Those guys were jumping around. Remember that? Jumping around the pool, going crazy down there. And where were we? We were in Fort Lauderdale, weren't we? At that Airbnb. And I was kind of sitting there going, well, number one, I'm an Alabama fan. But number two, I'm fairly new into the scene. So like I say, you can stick your toe in it. The undercurrent will pull you. The riptide will pull you very fast with college football, especially in the U.S. South. It's fun to talk about, but I can wait. I can wait. But if you can't, go check out Any Given Sunday SEC Football on Netflix. It's phenomenal, and they had a behind-the-scenes coverage of that particular day when Vandy beat Alabama. From the audience, Stephen from North Dakota writes in, otherwise known as Buffalo Bill. He says, greetings and hallucinations from sunny 20-degree Celsius, Jamestown, North Dakota. Due to tariffs and Canadian content laws, the Statue of Liberty play has been updated to the CN Tower play for Canadian leagues, which reminds me, somebody wrote in here earlier, I won't name him, but his initials are Jeff the Stamps fan, saying if this keeps up, the U.S. government will be taxing American players playing in the CFL. Do you think they haven't? Come on, you guys. And Canadians working in the USA? Come on, you guys. Do better. Rick in Martinsville, Sask writes in and he says, McLeod Bethel Thompson on the 6th game for the Alouettes. They've signed Cameron Dukes. Yikes, not signing Cody Fajardo, looking worse every day. Well, we have to live with our choices. That's what I have to say about that. You shouldn't go against a chosen one. Let's put it that way. You should never go against a chosen one. It's not going to turn out good for you. Air Corps writes in and he says, any given Saturday is great. Oh, Brent says he's already watched and loved it. Okay, I should have known. Watch it again. Well, I'm planning trips, by the way. Brent, I have booked my flight back to, so you know, from South Florida. And a couple of things that I want to do this spring is a game in the swamp. I want to go to Gainesville. I feel like that's something, Brent, you and I could do. And for my guy, Chris from the Bronx, who lives in Deerfield Beach, Florida, we're thinking of maybe going to New York and watching his Giants. The poor guy actually thinks the Giants are going to make the playoffs. Colt writes in and says, we got breaking news. The Tampa Bay Lightning Arena is now getting a new name. It's going to be called Benchmark International Arena. Saw that this morning. It's been Amalie Arena for a very, very long time. Benchmark International doesn't mean anything to me, but I'm looking forward to digging into it. They say that it's a great community thing, community benefits. I don't know anything about it. I'll look into it later. Rich in Edmonton says, I've been to the swamp a couple of times on a non-game day. Gave me chills even when it was empty. Me too. We drove through there a couple of years ago at Christmas. Serena was working on something in the hotel room. I said, I'm going to go look around Gainesville. I walked right into the swamp. No, it was like Boxing Day, which in America is, they don't even have Boxing Day. Brent in Wellington says, I have tickets for Miami versus FSU in Tallahassee. Road trip. My inbox is getting jammed with Hurricanes Notre Dame ticket availability. One thing about Florida specifically, it's like drinking from a fire hose, taking a sip from a fire hose when it comes to sports. I finally figured that out. Can't be everywhere. 902-518-3033 is the text line for Western Dodge and Moose Jaw. Your sports update, the Toronto Blue Jays, who lead the AL East by 4.5 over the Boston Red Sox, will be aiming to extend their win streak to 3 games tonight when they host the Chicago Cubs. Kevin Gausman will be on the mound for the Jays, who opened a 3-game series against the visiting Cubs last night with a 5-1 victory. Man, was that entertaining. That's the one thing. I'm sitting here without baseball going on because our season ended with the Moose Jaw Miller Express with a lot of time on my hands, and I'm just realizing, hey, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. I was able to sit down and watch all of the Blue Jays game last night, which included after the first inning, welcome back to Buck Martinez. The standing ovation. Well, some of you didn't get out of your seats. Should be ashamed of yourselves because you could have. But Buck Martinez, the Blue Jays icon, stood and thank you. Thank you. Brent from Wellington, Florida, and I went to the Blue Jays' last preseason game at Dunedin. And remember, Brent, I took a photo of Buck's hair. He was in the booth, and all I could get what a picture was he was looking down. Buck's hair is fairly iconic as well. I love that guy. As we continue, the Canadian Elite Basketball League playoffs tip off Thursday night with 2 conference play-in games. In the East, the Montreal Alliance visit the Scarborough Shooting Stars, while in the West, the Calgary Surge host the Edmonton Stingers. This was year 7 for the Canadian Elite Basketball League. Did you get to a game? Our Saskatchewan Rattlers did not make the playoffs. The sports headlines are for Cool Bet Canada. Get a welcome bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Available for Canadian bettors only. Coolbet.com. When you click on the welcome, enter the promo code RP200. And if you put in $10, they'll match it. If you put in $100, they'll match it. They'll match it up to $200. So, are we encouraging betting? Yes. Are we encouraging responsible betting? Absolutely. Now, in the time that we have left here, I did have some notes. And as we come back into hour 2, that's when I really like to get to your questions and comments. So 902-518-3033 as we open hour 2. I like to come in hot into hour 2. Text me now, 902-518-3033 for Western Dodge, proud partners of the Rod Peterson Show. Western Dodge and Moose Jaw, big city selection with small town service. And they are selling cars like hotcakes and trucks down there. Yes, John Ohm in Winnipeg says Buck is the best. A-Rod, I think he is the best. I think it's not even close for number 2. That's what I think about Buck Martinez in the Blue Jays broadcast booth. And I remember that day at TD's ballpark in Dunedin, leaving with Brent going, I can't believe the positive vibe in the ballpark. It's unbelievable. I did not think it would last real long. And here we are into August, and it's only continuing to rise. What a story. But I was talking to Moose this morning about a variety of things and some other CFL media power brokers in this country. I didn't think this would be a big thing, or at least I'm surprised that it was. Darrin is a really big fan of Dan Patrick, formerly of ESPN Radio and now of Peacock and his own network. I guess Dan Patrick was going off. Y'all know who Dan Patrick is, about the NFL purchasing 10% of ESPN and how the NFL is just buying the media up. It's not new. That's why I'm surprised that Dan Patrick would be that upset. I guess he had just a toe-to-toe with some ESPN reporter because Dan left ESPN not on good terms. It happens to some of us leaving our past employer not on good terms. Dan's spilling some more info now as to how that all went down in his fightings with ESPN, and he's very upset that the NFL, in a mode to control the message, is being allowed to buy 10% of ESPN. And eventually it will be more. And I'm sitting there, it's a little like Luke Wilson, who's now been silenced clearly by somebody. Les Lazaruk was on here earlier, the Seahawks Super Bowl winning tight end, who's been doing sideline reporting for TSN of CFL games, announcing this week that he's not going to tweet about the CFL anymore. We'll see how long that lasts. People don't think it'll last, but he said it Monday. It's now, Wednesday. He's still not. We'll see. But what you don't all understand, and what Dan's getting at is, there is a script. There's a script that you have to follow. That's all I will say. This is what you say. Some can live with it, some can't. And I've spent hours staring up at night at the bedroom ceiling going, how are we going to deal with this? And the way I've reasoned it is, here's Rich. He goes, Dan Patrick has a grudge against ESPN.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
We're coming in for hour 2 of the RP Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, also airing in 32 U.S. states, and some very exciting broadcast news coming up within the next couple of weeks that I can barely contain myself. But speaking of sticking to the script, I'm sticking to the script. If it was up to me, I'd be telling you right now, but it's not up to me. So here we are. If you're just joining us here on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming or listening to the podcast, if you're just joining us, you've missed a whole lot. Let me do a quick 6 show topic rundown. I see Joshua Dorr. All my Florida people are showing up today. Hey, Josh. He says, what's going on, Rod? Well, just hang on, Josh. You showed up at a good time. I'm going to get to all of these comments from you all in a second that have carried over from hour one. But this is what we were talking about 1 hour ago for the benefit of those that actually showed up on time. Point one, the big story is the Toronto Blue Jays. They're the best team in the American League. Ernie Clemente run home run in the third inning and give the Blue Jays a 4-3 lead over the Chicago Cubs last night. They went on to win 5-1. Dalton Varsho hit his 12th home run of the season for the Jays. Tonight they go for their third win in a row as they welcome the Cubs again. That's not the story. The big story that I got into with Les was this. Blue Jays president Mark Shapiro declined to comment to the media yesterday on his contract extension talks with the club, but he says there's interest from both sides to get it done. The question is, should the Jays be signing Mark Shapiro, the president, to an extension? And Les and I put our heads together, and I'm saying no. You haven't won anything yet. You do have the best team in American League for sure, but you haven't won anything yet. What's the rush? And for your benefit, Josh, I compared it to the Florida Panthers. I'm not saying getting your business done ahead of time is a bad thing. The Panthers have made a habit of doing that under the general manager, Bill Zito, extending Paul Maurice midseason, extending all the players, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, Barkov. But that was after they won Stanley Cup. So maybe let's just wait with Shapiro. That's what I'm saying. Point two is the Western Canadian Baseball League. The Regina Red Sox have advanced to play the Sylvan Lake Gulls in the final. Point three, I switched them around. National Football League, point three. Buffalo Bills running back James Cook has ended his holdout, signed a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Bills today. $30 million of that is guaranteed. Aaron Rodgers doesn't like his helmet in Pittsburgh. The one he's been wearing his whole career has now been outlawed by the NFL for safety concerns. And people are laughing about that and, of course, calling him a diva because anything Aaron Rodgers says opens himself up to criticism now. But I get it. I talked about when I was playing goal. I had the old Chris Osgood combo, right down to the color. Red SK2000 helmet and the spider mask, the cat's eyes. And I loved it so much. Dan Kluche wore that. Andy Moog did for a while. But when those fiberglass masks came in, my God, they're so heavy. I could barely lift my head. And they're still heavy. And he couldn't see. I get where Aaron Rodgers is coming from. So do what it takes. I would think they'd find him a helmet that will serve. Oh, by the way, our guest coming up this hour is Darrin Bauming from Bonfire Sports in Winnipeg. It will be a lot of CFL talk in the next segment. And then to this, NFL Network's preseason Week 2 schedule features 7 live games, including a doubleheader Friday night and then a quadruple header on Saturday. The Friday night doubleheader begins 7 p.m. Eastern. Titans at the Falcons. 10 p.m. Eastern is the second game. Chiefs facing the Seahawks. And I actually didn't expect that. Wow. God bless you all for making this a bigger thing than I thought it would be. The NFL purchasing 10% of ESPN, and Dan Patrick's all upset about it, and he's just saying that you're not getting the real news. You're getting the news the NFL wants you to get. And that's the way that it is now. I'm just looking at Dan Patrick going, you should know that better than anybody, Dan. You've been around longer than all of us. An absolute dog in the sports media. But Dan Patrick's not going to change the way things are. We see it in all leagues. And here's the difference. Where the hell is... Oh, yeah. So Rich in Edmonton says that Dan Patrick has a grudge against ESPN. You obviously don't follow the story. I listen to Dan Patrick sporadically. I used to listen to him every day. He left ESPN, and I had to look it up here in the break. It was 2007. My God. Almost 20 years ago. I said it one time that John Frenzy, the Hall of Fame Rough Riders broadcaster who passed away a year and a half ago at age 81. I remember saying to Frenzy, you ever sit back and think, where do the years go? John Frenzy said, you get a little older and you think, where'd the decades go? Here we are. It's been almost 20 years since Dan Patrick left ESPN, and he said on his radio show recently that ESPN did every single thing they could do to sabotage his career and blackball him. I know a little bit about that. Same thing happened to me. So if you wonder why Dan Patrick might have a grudge against ESPN, this is why. They did everything they could do to end him. Okay? But the point of the matter is, it's almost 20 years later. I'm surprised Dan Patrick wouldn't know, because I think a lot about it. Well, I got cut off at the end of hour one, and I was wanting to get into this a little more. There's a script, and it doesn't matter what the league is, the NFL, the NHL, the CFL, MLB, there is a script. Are you going to talk about the negative things, or are you going to talk about the positive things? If your paycheck is coming from the league or the network that carries the games, you're going to talk about the positive things and not the negative things, or there's the door. And that's why we think that's a little bit of what Luke Wilson is going through with the CFL on TSN. I don't know. I made some calls this morning saying, why has he gone Twitter silent on the CFL? And nobody really knows, i.e., who's behind it. But I've reasoned it as this. A couple of things. I'm not willing to play by the CFL script. I don't like a lot of the things about the league and the way that they do business, so I just enjoy the games, and I leave it there. That's all. But I'm not going to read what they want me to read. That bridge is burned, gone, up in flames, not going back. But I have a second opportunity in life to go by the script of the National Hockey League and the Florida NHL teams and the NFL for that matter, which kind of dovetails into our exciting broadcast news coming up here probably by the end of the month. So, yeah, I'll play by the script with those leagues. But Dan Patrick's so big, and he was such an NFL guy, an NBA guy, and college basketball guy. It's too big for him to start over with so he's pissed. That's one. Two, I reason it this way. It's sports, okay? It's not misappropriating government money. It's not a case of national security. It's not sexual impropriety, okay? It's not. It's sports. It's not the end of the world. That's the difference. Like if the governments or the big pharma companies were paying off the news networks, that's bad. That's different. This is sports. It's not that big a deal. We as reporters need to make a choice. Are we going to follow the script or are we not? And that's where Luke Wilson, I believe, I don't know, I'm just guessing, as a guy who's been around a little bit, has been given the talking to. Which, by the way, isn't necessarily the bad thing. Joshua writes in and says, Rod got a new broadcasting gig. Should be grandfathered in like the NHL does. And he says, when are you returning to Florida? I'm returning next month. That's all I'll say. I don't need to divulge any more plans than that, Josh, but I'll be seeing you soon. And I'm very excited about that. BW in Edmonton writes in, he says, why not just grandfather in Aaron Rodgers' helmet if this is his last year? My God, you'd think they would have thought of that, don't you? And I don't say that facetiously or you're right. Let the guy play with it. It's like Craig McTavish, the last guy without a helmet. Anybody that was playing when you didn't have to wear a helmet doesn't need to wear a helmet. The NFL can't figure that out. But this is big boy stuff, by the way. I mean, I talked about last January, when I heard from the NFL about Super Bowl, and they said, Rod, we watched your show. If you talked more NFL, that would be better for you. I was offended. But then I thought, who the hell am I? Because it goes back to John Gruden wanting to sue the NFL over being blackballed. Do you actually think he's going to win? The poll yesterday was, should he be reinstated? Over 80% of you saying yes. Today's poll could have been, but do you think he'll ever coach a game on the sidelines in the NFL again? Because the answer will be no. You don't win. So I'll say it again. The NFL is controlling the media. The riders are controlling the media. Whoever's controlling the media, but it's sports. It's not life or death. I'm okay with it. And I'll give you a great example if you don't believe me. This isn't, by the way, new. In 2007, Eric Tillman was the general manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Every single morning, ET emailed me with an email that said, Rod, here's what you're saying today. This guy's flying in on Delta Flight 101 from Mississippi. This guy's flying out on Air Canada 717 to Miami. This is our thoughts on this week's game. This is what you're saying. It was great. I had content, the team controlled what I said, and the fans were happy because they had info. It worked for everybody. But then Tillman left, Brandon Taman came in, and he's like, I tried to get that going with BT, and he's like, yeah, I don't operate that way. That was the end of that. Jeremy in Winnipeg writes that he says, pretty sure Tom Brady had to switch helmets. Probably didn't want to, but did it anyways. Why Brady is more than Rodgers will ever be. Oh, yeah, Tom switched helmets and didn't bitch. Oh, yeah, we all love Tom Brady. And Jeremy says, by the way, that Cowboys documentary coming out on the 19th is going to be something. Jeremy, you're coming with the good stuff today. I don't know why you're so fixated on the Cowboys. You're a Chiefs fan. Worry about your own team. Quit picking away at us. Noni in Calgary writes in and says, good morning, Rod. It's so awesome. This is on the Western Dodge text line. She says, it's so awesome having Buck Martinez back in the booth. The combo of Dan Shulman and Buck makes the joy of watching our beloved Blue Jays even more exciting. Having been at a few spring training games in Dunedin, could see there was just something special about the Jays this year. Let's keep going. Have a great day. I felt the same thing, Noni, and I was there with Brent from Wellington. I'm like, it was unbelievably positive in the facility. And it just continued all year. Well, how far does it go? Let's believe it'll go to the World Series. Why not? She says, I also say no to Mark Shapiro being extended. Can I amend that or clarify? I'm not saying no. I'm saying not yet. There's a difference. 11:11 Mountain, 1:11 Eastern. For those that observe. Laverne and Swift Current writes in, we talked about this yesterday. He says, so Texas Longhorns are number 1 in college football rankings, but are underdogs versus number 3 OSU on August 30th. Seems like odd odds. Yeah, we'll probably get into that a little closer to the date. Not today. Bomber Boy writes in. Hang on before I get to Bomber Boy. Jeremy in Winnipeg says the Chiefs have zero drama. LMAO. Right. And 3 Super Bowl championships and 6 appearances. Yeah, so you just want to look in on the Cowboys because you want to see the car crashes you drive by. You sadistic SOB. It's going to be a long season for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm trying to find a way to deal with it. Air Corps writes in, he says, I listen to the RP show because he talks about all football. If I need more NFL talk, I have many channels to watch. That's why we do what we do. And you'll really enjoy Darrin Bauming coming up in the next segment. Moose wants us to talk more NFL, just so you know. Moose is like, yeah, all those other channels are talking about it, but people want to know what we think about it and what you think, Rod. I don't know. And the main thing is, I really want to do and talk hockey. Does anybody care what Rod wants? Does anybody care at all? The Rod Peterson Show? Jeremy says he follows the Dallas Cowboys out of love, not hate. Yeah, that's what you say. 902-518-3033. By the way, the poll question is, what is Canada's game of the week in the CFL? Because the thing with the CFL, like the games are great, but that's why I'm not, when I say I don't want to play by the script or read the script that I would like to cover, how are we doing on time, by the way, Corey? Hello? Okay. Yeah, you're good. Got a couple minutes here. This the script that the fans all want to talk about. Oh, the league's gonna die. Oh my God. Oh, I go to Calgary, which is where I'm going as soon as this show is over. Twice last week. Are you worried about the future of the city? I don't want to talk about that. Okay, I don't want to talk about it. That's what the fans want to talk about, and the league does not. Clearly, I'm caught in the middle. So I just want to talk about the games. Thursday, it's Ottawa at Winnipeg. 10th consecutive sellout for the Blue Bombers. Friday, Toronto at Edmonton. And a Saturday doubleheader, Hamilton at Saskatchewan and Montreal at BC. It's only Wednesday, right? We're going to be talking a hell of a lot more CFL Thursday, Friday. You think we're going to be at Theo's golf tournament tomorrow. We won't be talking CFL, but we will because Kevin the Medium is going to be with me from the Hughes Sports Podcast. And then on a Football Friday with Jim Barker, it's going to be all football all day. But the poll results, by the way, are the Tiger Cats at the Rough Riders. It ain't even close. It's 86% of you are saying that's Canada's game of the week. And I know that's why a lot of you came here today to talk about. But I also know a lot of you did not come here today to talk about that. We will as the week gets closer to the weekend. I say it every week. Nobody ever listens. Johnny Moe writes in from Winnipeg, and he says, stick with the script. Yeah, right. But which script are you talking about? The one that they want to talk about or the one that I want to talk about? There is a difference, and that's why we are. B. Mans writes in, he says, CFL ratings are great on TSN this year. The league is fine. Hashtag screw the script. Well, what did Jim Lawson say yesterday? Ticats co-owner said the CFL's not going anywhere anytime soon. That's the script that I want to talk about, but the fans don't. Darrin Bauming will be here from Bonfire Sports, talking CFL right after this.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of the RP Show, brought to you in part by Pump Jacks Cathedral and Pump Jacks Weyburn. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. Speaking of friends, Darrin Bauming joins us from Bonfire Sports Winnipeg. How you doing, Bomber?
Good, Roddy. How are things?
Things are great. And listen, you know you're here to talk CFL football with me, but what I've never asked you, nor any of my Winnipeg friends, is how big the Blue Jays are there. They're going for their third straight win tonight when they host the Chicago Cubs. Last night's game was fantastic. Rogers Center jammed. What's Winnipeg going through with Jays love right now, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I was an Expos fan because everybody was a Jays fan. I was kind of liked being contradictory like that when I was younger, but maybe even a little bit now, right? But yeah, people love the Jays, especially when they're doing what they're doing. I haven't seen too much of the Blue Jays, but I've been following, reading a little bit, and really just enjoying people's takes on social media with what they're doing right now, and where they were last year to where they are now. And big question marks about Vladdy and, really their entire depth of their team, if they were going to evolve into the types of stars that they have shown to be this season. So, I mean, you get to this part of the year, right, where we're approaching Labor Day in a few weeks. That's kind of when all those sports juices get flowing for me, because it's CFL and NFL, and you start looking at the MLB playoffs, and then, of course, training camps with the National Hockey League and even the NBA right around the corner. It's pretty great.
Well, I asked because in my commentary today, I mentioned fall is for football, but we're not at fall yet. It's summer, and the Blue Jays are the best team in the American League, and I've been calling Western Canadian Baseball League, as has Les Lazaruk. So for us, right now, it's baseball, but for a guy like you, I know it's football. So that's the segue. Our poll question we do every Wednesday is, what's Canada's game of the week? And running away with it is Ticats Riders. Give me a reason why people should vote for Red Blacks Bombers Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's the return of Drew Brown, right? There's a lot of fans here in Winnipeg that look at the Red Blacks quarterback and say, wonder what could have been. Did the Blue Bombers make the right decision in signing Zach Collaros long-term and moving on from a young quarterback that they developed in Drew Brown? I remember when he was a rookie, I said it on my show. I'm like, this guy is going to be a starter in the CFL. You could see it in the way that he prepared, his practice week, the way he interacted with media, his very calm, understated kind of personality and composure. Very impressive. And then obviously we saw the arm strength and just kind of that grit, that clutch ability that he has in that incredible comeback down 21 or 22-1 at the end of the first quarter against the Argonauts last week, and then marching that team to victory. What do you have? Almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Incredible young quarterback talent in the CFL. And I think people need to remember this. There is no atmosphere today in the Canadian Football League like there is in Winnipeg at Princess Auto Stadium. This is their 10th straight sellout. The Banjo Bowl will be their next home game following Thursday's game against Ottawa. That will be 11 straight sellouts for this franchise. They've sold out every game this year. It goes back to last year in that West Final and into the regular season. It's an electric atmosphere. It's on the University of Manitoba campus, Rod. It's on Chancellor Matheson Road. I call it the Madhouse on Matheson. This place rocks. Every 2 weeks here in Winnipeg when the Blue Bombers are playing home games, that's why people should watch this game, because you see it through the television. I think you even feel it a little bit. I really encourage people to get to a Blue Bombers home game if they're ever in Winnipeg, or if they're in Winnipeg and have never been. It's really unlike any non-Grey Cup atmosphere I've ever been at outside of, non-Grey Cup or non-Labor Day type games, because I've been to Taylor Field and Mosaic and been to some absolute building-shaking atmospheres.
Even Rider fans are now admitting that Winnipeg has the best atmosphere in the CFL, but that was a wonderful advertisement. It's not your job to market for the Bombers, but I never thought about Drew Brown coming back. I never thought about it, and you just told me why. Now we got to tune in. But here's a little peek behind the curtain of how I do things. I was raised by a hockey scout, my dad. I got the hockey. I don't need any help. But the football scouts, I lean on for you're a football guy. I'm not as much. right? So when I was purporting Dustin Crum as the next Joe Montana, I had scouts calling me, no, Rod, he's not that. But they're like, Drew Brown, he is. And they'd barely even seen Drew Brown, but they knew. The football people knew he's all that. So take me a little more into this Zach versus Drew Brown thing. Like, is it a divide in the fan base? Will it be? Is it a murmur now, or what is it?
Yeah, like it was a couple years ago that he signed that contract with the Red Blacks, and getting paid the money that he's deserved. I think it's honestly, like, Rod, you know this, in rabid fan bases, you always have that little pocket of people that say, well, they made this big mistake and I will talk about it until the cows come home. And with, the turnover tendencies we've seen in Zach Collaros in 2025, even in 2024, like, guy's a gunslinger, right? He will, live by the sword, die by the sword is how I've been describing him over the last month or so, when he has been healthy, but he has missed games. He hasn't really found that continuity and that gel. I think that, inability, to have all of his weapons around him, particularly Dalton Schoen, looks like he sprained his knee, quite a while ago. He's on the 6-game injured list. For my money, I put him right there with Kenny Lawler as the top receivers in the CFL. Like, he's top 3 for sure. And always been a safety blanket for Zach Collaros. So I think Collaros has struggled. I think the offensive line has struggled a little bit. We have a new offensive coordinator in Jason Hogan here, supported by Jarius Jackson in Winnipeg, of course, with Buck Pierce becoming the head coach of the BC Lions. And because of that, people start stirring up what would have been, what could have been if Drew Brown was the direction this team decided to take. Now, Zach Collaros has brought this team to 5 straight Grey Cup games. He won the first 2 and has lost 3. I wouldn't hang all of those losses on him, but anytime you see the other guy doing as well as Drew Brown has, with, I would say, outside of Geno Lewis and a couple other guys, Braylon Addison, doing more with less, people are going to start second guessing those decisions. I don't think the Blue Bombers made a mistake. It's just a circumstance of football. You stick with your winning number 1 guy. Collaros will be in the Hall of Fame. Drew Brown, if he keeps playing the way he is, he'll be in the Hall of Fame too. But, it's the reality of pro sports. You got to move on sometimes.
This is unbelievable.
And, great young player in Drew Brown.
Of course. Sure. He's all that. Now that I see it, I'm just saying the scouts saw it first, but I'm like, I cannot believe people are on Zach Collaros' ass. I can't believe it. Jeremy from Winnipeg writes in and he says, winning seasons puts people in the seats. John Ohm from Winnipeg, he's a Rider fan in Winnipeg. His Bomber fans are so quick to hit the panic button. Relax, people. Colin in Ottawa says, Winnipeg should have known Collaros was in trouble when he got outplayed by a backup quarterback, Nick Arbuckle, before he got injured in last year's Grey Cup. Whoa. I don't agree with that. It was 1 point going to the 4th quarter, right? Bombers were up, I think, by 1 point either way. I don't feel like if Zach stays healthy, the Bombers win that game.
Arbuckle was kind of out of his mind, right? Like, whether it's Ryan Dinwiddie or Arbuckle, the game plan worked, right? I don't think Winnipeg was playing particularly poorly at all. Collaros was very good in that game. It was no Brady Oliveira, who was the West Division MOP nominee 2 years in a row and won the award, CFL MOP that season, and they just didn't utilize him. Collaros cuts his finger on his throwing hand, throws a handful of picks, game over, and everybody's saying, well, Arbuckle beat Collaros. I agree with you. Not a fair assessment at all. But hey, this team in Winnipeg has been a 10-plus win team. Outside of an 0-4 start last year, they pretty much ran the table to a 5th straight Grey Cup appearance. This Blue Bombers fan base has gotten very fat, right? They're used to winning. They're used to dominance, and they're no longer that. So, of course, people are going to start calling out the most visible piece of a football franchise. That's QB1. So I understand the Collaros heat. I don't think we have seen as good as this Blue Bombers offense can be under new OC Jason Hogan.
Now you got me all fired up for the game. And by the way, the Bombers are 4-4, swept by Calgary in the games they met this year. Like, should the Bombers be concerned with where they're at?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I don't think they're playing particularly well. That 0-4 start last season, Rod, was less concerning where the Blue Bombers are today because they were losing those games close. They were making plays. They were in football games. Outside of that third straight loss to the Stampeders last week, Winnipeg has been blown out by their opponent. They split with Toronto. Toronto beat the pants off them in Ontario in the first game of their home and home, and then Winnipeg eked out a win in Winnipeg. This team has given up the big play over and over and over again. Terrell Bonds, their starting boundary corner, shared on Instagram yesterday that he's done for the season, had ACL surgery. Jamal Parker is injured. They're starting 2 rookies on each corner in their defensive backfield. Might even start a rookie in Cam Allen at safety tomorrow against Ottawa. I'll add another storyline to Winnipeg versus Ottawa. Bob Dice, the Red Blacks head coach, Winnipeg guy, Winnipeg native. So he's coming home as well. This game, anytime the Vegas odds makers put a line on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I look at it and wonder if it's even in the realm of reality, because when they have looked bad, they've suddenly found a way to win. When they've looked good, they've been blown out. This is a very different team in 2025 than what people, despite the similar names, than what people have come accustomed to by a Zach Collaros, Brady Oliveira, Willie Jefferson Blue Bombers team.
Winnipeg has such an unbelievable culture as a city and a history. I've never been part of it, but I'm just so grateful that they are so nice to me. And our show airs in there. We've got so many viewers. But when you think of Bob Dice, well, you mentioned Bob Dice, I think of him saying that Rod Black was the DJ in the roller rink when they were teenagers, and Bob used to take dates there and skate around the roller rink, and Rod Black was spinning tunes and DJing in Winnipeg. I love Winnipeg. Yeah. What's that steakhouse on Portage? Not Ben & Jerry's, but...
Oh, Highs.
No, this is something in Jerry's. No.
Oh,
it's
Ray and Jerry's.
Yeah, Ray and Jerry's. Yeah,
of course.
I missed that place. We've had some good times in that place. We've had a lot of good times in Winnipeg. Before I switch gears, a couple things. B Mans writes that he says Bomber fans will look back at this era as the good old days. Jeremy says Winnipeg just has to make the playoffs. Anything can happen after that. Do you have a take on Riders Ticats?
That's the game of the week. I don't care what anybody says. That's the game I'm most looking forward to watching. The way those quarterbacks are playing right now, the way those defenses are playing. Hamilton Tiger Cats, I've had a lot of faith in this team, even when they were struggling last year. Any Scott Milanovich coached team is going to be a good football team. And it looks like he has got his crew working how he has probably designed them to be when he took over head coaching duties in the Hammer. I picked the Saskatchewan Roughriders to win the Grey Cup this year here in Winnipeg, Grey Cup 112, right? They are starting to show what they're made of. And right now, I don't think anybody can hold a candle to them. But if there was one candidate that I think maybe could give the Saskatchewan Roughriders a run for their money, it's Bo Levi, it's Kenny Lawler. It's the guys that, have them really turn their season around after a kind of bumpy start. They're maybe the hottest team outside of the Rough Riders right now. Ticats Riders, I can't wait for that game.
Yeah. Battle for supremacy in the summer of the CFL. That's all. I'm not comfortable calling it a Grey Cup preview. I'm not comfortable at all calling it that, but it is a battle for supremacy in the summer. Marathon. Yeah. John in Winnipeg. Says Winnipeg loves Rod. Rod loves Winnipeg. Michael Wynn from Ice Time Sports says Ray and Jerry's and Hooters, Rod's favorite Winnipeg spots. Legendary. But there's the Palomino Club. There's the Pony Corral. There's Whiskey Dicks. We've been to them all and had a great time. Spent a lot of money there. Okay.
Well, we're going to see you in November.
Probably not. We'll see. I don't know. Dude,
we'll have you on the show.
I'm planning this afternoon, let alone November. Oh my God. A hockey note before. Well, we got plenty of time here, but I can't have you write on NHL.com on the Jets. So where are we on the Jets right now on August the 13th?
Yeah, I mean, signing Dylan Sandberg was a huge get for the for the Winnipeg Jets. Pardon me. Sandberg, restricted free agent. They were $4 million apart, potentially hitting arbitration, and to sign him to a 3-year deal, huge. There's people in kind of the analytics community, Rod. I don't get too much into the fancy stats, but you look at Josh Morrissey, nicknamed Josh Norrisy. I think one of those trophies is in his future. There's some people in that analytics community that feel that Dylan Sandberg is a better defender, is the Winnipeg Jets' best defender, better than Morrissey, better than the rest. That's high praise. This guy is a shutdown defender, and for a team that lacks size on their blue line, Dylan Sandberg, losing him would have been catastrophic to this team. That Stanley Cup window is open when you got Hellebuck and Connor and Scheifele. You lose Nikolai Ehlers, but you add Gustav Nyquist. And Tanner Pearson and some support guys. Obviously, Jonathan Taves, another Winnipegger coming home. What's he capable of? Is he a 60, 70-point guy? Still 3 years removed from playing in the NHL last? We'll have to see. It'll be a very interesting year. I hope we were going to mention a little bit of Winnipeg Sea Bears, Rod. They're hosting championship weekend in a couple weeks in late August here in Winnipeg.
Well, just hang on. You got time. You have time, but I want to ask you this. Munzie was on here. We're talking about Jonathan Taves. I want to ask you this. As the guy that covers the Jets for NHL.com, Jonathan Taves, nice feel-good story, hometown boy, or what are the expectations? Stanley Cup is going to put him over the top to win a cup.
Yeah, it's the feel-good story, and everybody happy that he is healthy again and, feels healthy enough and well enough to return to pro hockey. Jonathan Taves has nothing to prove to anybody at this point. Hall of Famer, no doubt, 3 cups. Everybody knows the resume that he has, and feel good for Winnipeg, right? Like, we've never had that hometown boy play for this team. So to have the most decorated Winnipegger in the National Hockey League and in pro hockey history, Olympics as well, playing for the Jets, the team that he grew up, wearing on his chest and the pajamas and the whole thing, is an outstanding feel-good story. But of course, once they drop the puck, Rod, once really even, the guys step on the ice for training camp, this fan base is going to be like, well, okay, where does he fit? Is he the second line center? They got to deal with Adam Lowry being out until October or November after having hip surgery. Where does he fit? What's his production? Who are his line mates? It's going to be, just like jumping on the old horse. People are going to be talking hockey and forgetting about all those feel-good stories. Is he going to help this team win?
Great answer. Great clip. Thank you. That's what I wanted. And to the Sea Bears, my Rattlers missed the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
I'm not that big on the CEBL, but clearly I see the games out of there. Why do they love the Sea Bears so much in Winnipeg? We only got a minute, but.
Yeah, blue-collar town. The game product, I think, is excellent. I mean, I'm completely biased. I'm the court announcer, the stadium voice for the Winnipeg Sea Bears. It's the most fun I have, Rod, because I kind of take that journalistic take and covering the Jets and the Blue Bombers and other sports. But then for the Sea Bears, I work for the team. I got the mic in my hand. I get to feel the energy inside that building. And for people that aren't aware, the Winnipeg Sea Bears broke the CEBL attendance record in their first ever game 3 years ago, or I guess it was 2 years ago. This is their 3rd season in the league, and they have shattered that record repeatedly since. This is the 3rd straight year the team has broken the full season CEBL attendance record. They had 92,000 fans.
Ran out of time. But hey, he got it all out, what he wanted to say. Thanks, Bomber. We'll be right back after this.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's been fantastic. It's fantastic every day. Right after this show, I'll be jumping in my Western Dodge Hornet and racing to Calgary within the boundary, the speed limit, of course, and getting all set up to broadcast from Darrin Fleury's 4th annual Breaking Free Foundation Golf Tournament. Live show tomorrow. Kevin the Medium will be joining us. Of course, Theo and Flames great Colin Patterson, who Don Cherry once called the most underrated player in the NHL. So all these towns are so great to host us the way that they do. Colin in Ottawa's watching. He writes and he says, wait, there's a bar in Winnipeg called Whiskey Dick's? Oh, boy. I'm sure there have been some interesting times there. See, here's the thing. You don't all know the old me, and that's a really good thing. But one night, like, you gotta understand, when I was the voice of the Riders, I was the same age as the players. So what do you think was going to happen? So we went to the bars, and I don't want to name names. Like his initials were Mike Abumeshwer, and Luke Mulliner was with us. And Abu was throwing ice at me across the jammed Whiskey Dicks the night before the banjo. Just not hard. Just lobbing ice at me. All of a sudden, 3 bouncers, boom, in, cuff and stuff them. I'm like, hey, he wasn't doing anything. Well, gotta go. Well, how about just kick him out? No, y'all gotta go. That was one night. There was the one day at Hooters. Hey, Pipes, are you watching? Hooters, if you can believe, middle of the afternoon, 1 o'clock. One of the Hooters servers comes and sits at our table. She's like, what are you guys doing later? We're like, nothing. She says, we're having a birthday party at a club called Alive, and we need a bunch of guys to come with us. Would you be interested in coming? It was like God Oh, came down and sat at our table. Yeah, we'll be there. Rented a limo. We had a big time. Casey writes in from Winnipeg, says, what most CFL fans always, what's this? They never realize that it's a long season, says Casey from Winnipeg. Yes, the Bombers are awful at this time, but corrections can be made with NFL cuts and turn it around, as others say. Whoa. They're 4-4. They lost last week on a CFL record-tying field goal. They're not awful. And the NFL cut thing, very rarely ever. You guys all purport yourselves as CFL historians. Tell me, who's the last NFL cut to come in mid-season and turn a team dramatically around in CFL history? I'll wait. No, the moves that are made are the Arlen Bruces and the Tad Cornigays being signed when BC Lions in 2011 were 0-5. Yeah, we get that, but those were CFL veterans. Name an NFL cut that came in mid-season that turned a team dramatically around. It doesn't happen. And Winnipeg doesn't even need that. Navy Don writes in from Ottawa. He says, it's good to see the support for Canadian domestic pro league. Thanks. 2 minutes already? I'm just getting warmed up. 2 minutes till we break. Because that reminds me, at the club called Alive, one of the guys in our party acted up. And for whatever reason, the managers are always coming to me. I wasn't the guy that was acting up. They're like, you guys got to go. And I'm like, why? Because your guy did this on the dance floor. I'm like, well, kick him out. We're having a good time. Y'all got to go. Okay. That was a good time, though. Hey. Hang on. I got lost telling stories. Rich in Edmonton, I'll just read one. He says, big difference in Edmonton and Calgary sports fans. Oilers fans are extremely disappointed in the last 2 seasons. Flames fans would be walking around in back-to-back West Conference champions t-shirts. So what was I saying earlier? The culture different. Winnipeg has its own culture. Edmonton has its own culture. Calgary has its own culture. They're all different. Saskatchewan has its own culture. And within that, Regina and Saskatoon have their own culture. Miami and Tampa Bay have different cultures. It's a subculture thing. And trying to appeal to everybody is not easy, but it's something we try to do every day, and we seem to be doing it just fine. Buffalo Bill writes in and says, story time. John Ohm, same thing. John Ohm says, love those stories, Rod. Well, they were fun going down, I'll tell you that. Would I do it again? Probably. I won't do it again, but if I had the chance, I would probably not have changed anything. Jeremy says 0. No one who got cut from the NFL made a difference. Thank you. That's what you start to hear. Oh, we'll get NFL cuts. So what? We'll be right back with overtime right after this.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Peterson Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Peterson Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Peterson Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Peterson Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. All right, welcome back, everybody, as we roll into overtime, brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes. And we will not, unfortunately, have the opportunity to visit with Randy and Michelle at Overtime Hockey Lanes, but we sure had a great time with them 2 weeks ago, didn't we, with our live show there. Well, there's Calgary sponsors. Like, I was saying before, Calgary, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Sask, they all have their own culture. Toronto, too, and we do our best to bridge them all. It's not easy. Rich in Edmonton writes that he says, Rod, you're doing it just fine. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. And now, with us airing in 32 U.S. states and some very exciting U.S. broadcast news coming down the pipe. That's all I'll say about that. Give me time. We'll bridge that, too. But it's in my commentary today. The thing that unites us all is the NFL. It is. It's like those cities have their own. It's like sports. CFL has their own fan base. The Blue Jays have their own fan base. NHL and hockey have their own fan base. But the one league that everybody follows is the NFL. Change my mind. We'll be talking more NFL moving forward because we would be an idiot not to. And that's, if I had more time, I would get into this more, which reminds me, John Ohm says, days like this, I wish the show was another 1 to 2 hours. Dang, this show is good for the soul. It is good for the soul, but go back and rewatch it or something. I appreciate you saying that, John. But with the idea of that there being a script, I don't mind telling the script that the CFL wants, and that is that the games are great, because it's true. We see that. But there's that ugly stuff under the carpet they don't want talked about. And I'll talk about that if I want to talk about that. That's where I think Luke Wilson has found himself in trouble with. I don't know. I'm just guessing that he's gone Twitter silent. I'm going to talk about my own script, what I want to talk about. And if that doesn't work with the leagues, then I guess we'll have to shake hands and part ways. But it's just gone too far with the CFL. And it's too long of a history. I'm not interested in following their script per se. NFL, NHL, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, let's do it. But that's the one thing is they've invited me in big time. And I'm like, I'm good over here. I don't want to know too much. Makes my job a lot easier. That's all. No offense. I'm sure you're great people. And they dig that too. The Rough Rider writes in and says, hey, Rod, hope you're doing well. Who do you got for the Hamilton Sask game? I'll take the Riders. That was quick. Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in and he says, well, hopefully we all get a good night's sleep and come back in a positive frame of mind tomorrow. Hey, I'm great. Speak for yourself. Have you not noticed that? I'm in a tremendous frame of mind. But then again, I work at it, and I always am. You should try it, Jeff. John says, Rod, are you going to sneak over to Regina to watch the Riders Saturday? Why do you care? Why do you care? I have other plans. Why do you care so much? 902-518-3033. Laverne in Swift Current writes in and says, Ticats versus Riders, by far the game of the week. Bo Levi Mitchell against Trevor Harris, probably the two finalists for most outstanding player. Sports update, the Toronto Blue Jays go for their third straight win tonight when they host the Cubs. Kevin Gausman will start for Toronto after a 5-1 victory in last night's series opener. Jays lead the Red Sox by 4.5 in the AL East. Righty Cade Horton gets the call for Chicago. Breaking news from the National Football League. The Buffalo Bills and running back James Cook have agreed to a 4-year, $48 million contract with $30 million of it guaranteed. The deal ends a week-long standoff that saw Cook skip 4 practices and sit out Buffalo's preseason opener. James Cook tied for the NFL lead with 16 rushing touchdowns last season. Ultimate Fighting Championship boss Dana White plans to meet with Donald Trump after staging a 4th of July fight card at the White House. It comes as the UFC strikes a 7-year, $1.1 billion per year rights deal with Paramount starting in 2026. All UFC content will stream on Paramount Plus with select events airing on CBS. The Little League World Series gets underway today in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Canada is represented by Vancouver's Little Mountain Little Leaguers. They'll open Friday against either Puerto Rico or Venezuela, the Latin America representative, whose players received visa exemptions to make the trip. How about that? The sports update's brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off at checkout. Check us out at SeatGiant.ca. Tell you what, I've had a lot of fun today, like I said. For those saying they need to come back in a positive frame of mind, I'm leaving in a positive frame of mind. And I don't mind that drive from here to Calgary at all. It's fun. I got Clint with me to keep me company, and Mark. Clint Black and Mark Chestnut. I do got to say thank you to Darrin Bauming. Really got me fired up for the Ottawa-Winnipeg game on Thursday night to kick off Week 11 in the CFL. I haven't seen any coverage from anywhere about that storyline. Drew Brown was supposed to be the next one in Winnipeg, but they have this guy there by the name of Zach Collaros who's taken them to 5 straight Grey Cups. Any reasonable person, football person, would pick Zach Collaros to continue to lead you. So Drew Brown leaves, and he is the next hot shot in the CFL, and he's leading Ottawa in there Thursday night, and some fans are saying they should have kept him. We had the same thing here with Darian Durant. We lost Drew Willie. We lost Tino Sinceri. Not that that was a big loss, but anybody that came up under Darian Durant left because Darian wasn't vacating his role, nor should he. It happens. But now we got to watch. Dag nabbit, he's got me thinking that could be the game of the week. Buffalo Bill says, great show. Thank you, John, as well. But to everybody, don't worry about my whereabouts. Worry about yourself and be good to yourself. And we'll see you tomorrow from Calgary here on the RP Show.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?